This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
And Doc, as you know, one of our fine partners at the Detroit Sports Podcast Network is The Athletic, which is a great, fine, and terrific website for all Detroit content and the best of the best insider info about all Detroit pro and collegiate sports teams. And listeners of this very episode of Tiger Talk with Chirco and Company can get 30% off. Yes, 30% off the first year of an annual subscription to The Athletic by visiting theathletic.com/DSP. And welcome to the latest, the freshest edition of Tiger Talk with Chirco and Company. As I say all that, I'm looking at an email from a job that I applied and then interviewed for. I was telling Doc about it before, and we'll be authentic here to start off Tiger's Talk. I am Vito Chirco, by the way, and that is Doc from Doc and Jock joining me across the studio table as usual. And Doc, I saw an email in which I sent an email, got a response finally back about my response to a job offer, which I did decline to take, actually. It was a job in marketing for a local entity in Farmington Hills, and I decided not to take it because I love you so much.
Awesome.
And because of other stuff, really, though. A lot of factors weighed into my decision, and that's why I ultimately decided not to take the job offer for this marketing firm in Farmington Hills.
Well, Vito, I always enjoy podcasting with you, and especially this week, I was so looking forward to talking to you, especially with the breaking news, and I shared it on the Motor City Sports Rant. I can't wait to talk to you about it. But isn't it funny sometimes how life works where you get multiple job offers all at the same time, and you got to now pick and choose because now here at the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, another opportunity has presented itself for you to go beyond being a college basketball reporter and a podcaster. So from your perspective, share what you understand as to what has happened this week with the Detroit Sports Podcast and our involvement with the Detroit Tigers.
Luckily, I have garnered the opportunity finally to cover the Detroit Tigers in person for games. Select games, game-by-game basis. We have to apply for these games to get credentials, but we have the accessibility now to the official credentialing page for the Detroit Tigers. And I think for all of Major League Baseball, but right now, we have been verified as, I guess, credible media, representatives for the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, thus showing us some credit that the DSP Network has grown to become a credible media outlet.
Technically, Vito, you are the Detroit Tigers reporter for Detroit Sports Podcast Network, and you can credibly and legitimately add that to your resume, and I can't wait for the first time when we check the credentialing page and it says approved. And it's likely going to happen during a midweek game. I know that for sure, and it's really great. Now, how do I look at this? Because I want to be objective.
Sure.
Because obviously my brother-in-law, and you met him now last week, he goes, when I told him, he goes, well, you know really why it happened, right? He goes, well, ratings are down. The Detroit Tigers are really desperate in order to get any kind of attention, and they saw you, and they're like, great, he's got a following, so let's just do it.
Well, it says a lot about us, then, because we have a following. If they're admitting that we're having a following, it's showing us respect for having a following.
Listen, Vito, if it works out where we get to cover the Lions, the Spartans, because every other media entity goes bankrupt and we're the only one standing, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I am too, actually.
It presents opportunities. Look, it presents opportunities for you to do what you love to do. And I honestly think you probably never thought that that day would come when I sent you that email, because I sent it Saturday and I sent it all caps. So typically most of the stuff I send you is nonsense. And then you briefly read it. You get back to me 4 hours later.
Yeah, 7 hours later. Yeah.
But that one I sent all caps because we were talking about something, maybe the show, I guess. Something not really important. But then all of a sudden.
Guys aren't important enough. I'm joking.
Then all of a sudden I go, Vito, all caps. I go, it happened. And you're probably like, what? Did we get a huge sponsor?
It's Saturday. Come on, man. Let me go.
And what did you think when you got the screenshot of that email that said, congratulations, we'll approve you for credentials on a game-by-game basis? The Detroit Tigers, a Major League Baseball franchise, a storied franchise, really one that has won World Series and in the last decade prior to now the rebuild, has had some success. What did you think?
Well, it's funny. I saw the email before you actually sent me that screenshot with the email to my text message thread that we have between you and I, because I saw it. You had sent me the email, forwarded the email as well. From media relations at the Tigers, I sent you a response finally. You've been following up, trying to get access forever now, like bothering them, elbowing them, saying, hey, please, I'm here. I really am here. My arms raised up all the way to the sky. Please allow me to have access. And finally, we've been validated, vindicated. Have we been vindicated? Is that the word to use? Vindicated and validated as credible media representatives once again for a credible media outlet. I kind of view it like that, Doc. So it's exciting news, big time for the DSP Network.
So what'd you think when you saw the email the first time when it came through, especially then when I screenshot it and sent it to you?
I was excited, and I was at the Tigers game, I think, by that point already as a fan, taking it in from behind the dugout. Did you see my Snapchats?
Yeah, it was the only game in which the Tigers won versus Boston.
I brought a win for the Tigers. I will credit myself. I got to credit myself for that W there on Saturday night against Beantown.
So that's where you were sending it. See, when you get into your mid-30s, we migrate over to Instagram, so I didn't see a single picture. I was like, you said I was going to take pictures, but you got to send them to me.
I snapped you. Oh, my God. Have you not even checked out your Snap then? I snapped you, too.
Did?
Yeah, their Snap sent to you.
So they're still there.
Really? After all that, Doc, I put in all that work and time to send you great-looking photos from behind the dugout.
Oh,
Best
nice.
seats I've ever had.
Nice.
Behind the road team dugout, though, behind the Beantown dugout. So we saw guys coming off of the field, obviously after every half inning. At the end of the game, we saw the bullpen guys coming in. We try to shout at them, try to get their attention. Dominic and I, my brother there, Dom was there alongside me. He tried to get their attention, yelling out their names, because he knows their names, too. Like Craig Kimbrell was coming in. We yelled out his name. Like we said, best closer in the American League, Craig Kimbrell. Kimbrell, look here. He didn't look once.
Gotcha. So how'd you get the nice seats? Was that part of the package?
I wish. No, we don't have that kind of a package. But we have that 4-game, package. I've already talked about that numerous times. But anyways, we got that through a person that my dad worked at, through the person that he worked for, did work for electrical work. He got tickets as like a way of showing their respect to my dad for the work that he did at their house, because he does residential and commercial electrical work. And through one of his, clients, did the work at the person's house. Guess it was a credible and respectable enough. And the guy paid him his respects, or showed my dad some respect by giving him these tickets and these great seats right behind the dugout of the road team, as in Boston over this past weekend.
Third row? Second or third row?
No, first, exactly. Right behind the dugout.
Oh, wow.
Right behind it. I've never had that great of seats.
Nice.
Trust me, I don't have that money. My parents don't have that money. But we always had season tickets for a long time before they got good in 06. We got rid of our season tickets after 05, which is hilarious. So right before they got good in 06 and made the World Series.
That's
so I guess
funny.
it was a bad luck for all that time. I never got to witness that World Series run they went on, even though we did buy tickets and eventually my dad again. But anyways, great seats. Best of the best for me. I've never had a better experience at a ballpark, honestly.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it's well-deserved. So you're like, oh my gosh, I get to go to this game. What a fun Saturday.
Yeah.
You get this news that Detroit Sports Podcast is legitimized and has an opportunity to be actual credible media in town. And I think it's great and well-deserved on your
Thank
part.
you.
Like I said, no doubt about it. The first time I heard it and I read it, I'm like, oh, well, this is great. Vito's going to go do the work. And like we said, when you are free from your myriad of 10 other jobs to go down there, you'll have hopefully the opportunity to go do it.
I'll be there. I'll be looking forward to it, and looking forward to many Detroit Tigers losses, perhaps the rest of the way this season.
Yeah, they
against
lost.
the Red Sox, didn't look too solid.
But
besides for Saturday,
Exactly.
Jose Iglesias 4 RBIs in that game. Vmart didn't look crappy.
And at least when you look at that Friday contest, a 1-0 loss.
Should have won that game. That was disappointing. Then you face David Price and lose. I wanted to see the Tigers crush David Price. That's one former Tiger I want to see the Tigers just beat the hell out of when they face him.
1-0
It didn't
loss.
happen.
1-0
It was
loss.
bad.
Who was the pitcher Saturday?
Saturday was Brian or Ryan Johnson. I think Brian Johnson.
just lefty, right? Yeah.
Had made 5 starts leading into that start. He wasn't that great. And you know what? They should have beaten him. And I'm glad they did on Saturday.
Good. And then Sunday happened, and that was a game where Chris Sale just took over for the Boston Red Sox. The Tigers didn't have a chance. They didn't show up. And the one thing where we can start right now in terms of talking about the Tigers, the mistakes. I mean, plethora of mistakes in terms of fielding, base running, and not taking advantage of runners on base. It was a tough situation. Chris Sale was dominant. He definitely lived up to the billing. I think he earned his 11th win in that game versus the Detroit Tigers. He looked awesome. He's done some things. He knows the Detroit Tigers lineup front to back. But what were your takeaways from the Detroit Tigers series versus Boston? And what do you make of Gardenhire saying, look, when you make that many mistakes in a ball game, you're just not going to win, especially versus Boston. They're going to kick your ass. No doubt about it.
Well, the Tigers wasted a plethora of situations with runners in scoring position on Friday night against David Price. That was highly disappointing to see them lose once again to David Price, but then to leave so many runners on base in scoring position on top of that. They should have scored 3-4 runs, 4-5 runs against David Price on Friday night. So that was disappointing to see from the Tigers' bats collectively. Saturday, they got the big W. Vmart once again looked solid. Best game I've seen all year long from Vmart. Scored 2 runs. He accounted for 2 of the Tigers' runs scored. Now, he hadn't done that since last year, like August 15th of 2017. So V-Mart, surprisingly good, Saturday at least. For one game, he looked like the Victor Martinez of 3-4 years ago. Jose Iglesias got it done too. 4 RBIs, hit a home run. I couldn't believe it. My buddy Brett was on Tiger Talk, the first ever episode. He was there with me and Dominic. And then we had a female family friend that was with us as well for the 4 people that sat together behind the dugout. And Brett had predicted Jose Iglesias would go yard. And he was just guessing. He had no clue whatsoever about Jose Iglesias, really, and how good he's been this year. But Iglesias went yard. I mean, this guy never goes yard. It was great to see in person him go yard, and he's really killed it over the last 50 games. His average 293 going into Monday's game against the Royals. So Iglesias is getting it done, much more productive at the plate, and now you got to believe maybe the Tigers can flip him for some prospects, and Mike Fiers as well for some prospect stock.
You got to watch him perform and really kind of shut down the Boston Red Sox, and when you got a guy like Mike Fiers, he's crafty, and he's got experience playing for Houston last year. Obviously didn't pitch in the postseason, but he's a guy that, has mastered the art of pitching. He's got the ability to kind of mix speeds, and he's not like a flamethrower. He's not going to make a bunch of guys whiff, but at a ballpark like America, it suits what he's able to do in terms of pitching to contact, and when he's been on, he's been able to get guys out, and he's crafty. I do believe that people are really kind of coming to respect Mike Fiers in the way he competes, because you would expect, among Fiers and Liriano that, most of the time Fiers is going to be the guy that's going to take the whooping, but it was Liriano. And, when you look at Mike Fiers, I do think around the trade deadline, it's going to be quiet now. Obviously, we'll talk about probably after the commercial break, Michael Fulmer getting hurt and how that's kind of devastated the trade market for the Detroit Tigers. It's going to be quiet. But you know what? All credit to Mike Fiers and the way he performed. Shutting down Boston is no easy feat. That lineup, when you evaluate the Red Sox, you got a chance to see them up close and personal, first row. When you see what they're capable of, holy cow, the talent that they field. And J.D. Martinez, you got was that the game where there was a great play in the field, or was that in the third game? There was a great play made in the field, I think, in that series.
Saturday night, I saw Jacoby Jones really catch a great fly ball. He made it look easy, going back to the wall, and made a really nice catch. I don't know if you were talking about that one. You probably weren't, but that was a nice catch by Jacoby on Saturday.
It was the Red Sox. I don't know if it was Mookie Betts or someone else in the outfield made a good play. I know it made SportsCenter, but I think it might have been Friday. But actually, in terms of looking at Boston, up close and personal, you got a chance to see them. Do you think they're complete enough to do some damage in the American League?
Well, you know what? I was looking forward to seeing J.D. Martinez. Didn't get the chance to see him on Saturday.
Oh, he was not there?
Didn't even play. Wasn't even in the lineup. I went all the way to Comerica. I had to take, those crappy seats. I'm joking. All joking aside. But J.D., when they put him out there in the outfield, they're less good defensively. They're not as good defensively. So as a unit, collectively, they're really solid. They really are defensively in the outfield. So Jackie Bradley Jr., who has not hit this year, Mookie Betts, guys like that can play the outfield and play it so darn well with the glove and flash the leather and win gold gloves. Those guys are gold glove caliber outfielders year in, year out. JD is not, but JD has a great arm. Remember that, too. And JD made a nice catch. JD made a nice catch Friday night. Remember that? It
says 3 days ago, so I want to assume it was Friday's game. Let me see. What is today? Today is the recording day, so it might have been Sunday. It might have been Saturday's game. Hold on, let me check here. So, Vito, here's the best part. The play happened in the game you were at. Left-handed pitcher for Boston.
I would have been guessing.
I'm gonna play the clip.
Okay, play the clip. It was a great catch. Yeah, I wasn't looking at that.
Look at your perspective.
I got beer in my hand. Okay.
Look at your perspective. You're looking at Jacoby Jones. Look at this play. I'll play it for you.
Okay,
Let me see if I can refresh your memory.
Sure.
Partner.
Beautiful. Look out. Martin, did he get all of it?
Third inning. 2-0 Detroit Tigers lead.
No. Robbed by Mookie Betts.
Hell of a catch that I forgot about.
Vertical there.
Great vertical. Is that Gibby there?
I think it's a Boston team.
A Boston Red Sox broadcast booth. Anyways.
Good. Got right in perfect position.
That's Gibby.
But
anyways, yeah.
Perfectly.
I missed it. Well, I misremember. Hey, I misremember a lot, man. Hey, if presidents and politicians say that they misremember and get away with it, well, I misremembered too, okay? My fault. I take accountability, but I misremembered. I thought, I would have guessed Mookie Betts. You were leading into that. I would have said Mookie Betts. I don't remember the catch. I'm not going to just say something. I'm authentic. I'm not going to just bring it up. Anyways,
funny.
Go on.
That's funny.
Jacoby Jones made a hell of a catch.
Well, I think it was number 2.
That's me showing that I'm biased.
It was number
once.
2 on SportsCenter, the Mookie
there you
Betts
go.
catch.
Well, I don't watch SportsCenter.
Okay.
Actually, I don't really watch it that often. I don't know if you do, but anyways.
But in the end, it was a good experience for you. And so do you think Boston's the real deal? Do you think they got enough?
Yeah, they're good defensively without J.D. Martinez, and he comes in the lineup, and then they're great offensively, even better. They're already great. They're greater with J.D. Martinez and his mighty big bat, in the middle of the Beantown order. So for me, looking at their roster as it is currently aligned, Craig Kimbrell as his closer. I mean, you like that. You like that for the Red Sox bullpen. You like Chris Sale as the ace. Rick Porcello's been really good this year. David Price, maybe you could say better of late. He got out of some jams once again on Friday night to avoid defeat when they only, they beat the Tigers 1-0. So, I mean, the rotation might be a little bit suspect. And maybe I'm taking the Yankees rotation head-to-head, but the Yankees rotation isn't great either. And if those are your two best teams, then you throw in the Astros who won it last year. The Yankees maybe are the best, maybe. But I think you still actually, after saying all that, you have to still show respect to the Houston Astros because they won it all last year, and their rotation is the best in all of baseball right now. Justin Verlander, Garrett Cole, Charlie Morton, Dallas Keuchel, their former ace is no longer even an ace-caliber arm, not even close to the top of their rotation. In Houston, he's like the number fourth best pitcher in that rotation. So look at Houston and how many games they're above 500. The Red Sox were, nearly 40 games above after taking 2 out of 3 against the Tigers. So the Bo Sox and the Yanks are both right there. But I think I would take at least Houston number 1, then the Yanks, followed by Beantown, even though Boston has had, the best record now in the AL, and for at least half of the season.
All right, let's take our first time out. We'll come back. We'll finish the podcast talking about the trade deadline, Michael Fulmer, his injury, and then we'll talk about, I want to get your sense regarding the commissioner, Mike Trout. He has kind of lit off a firestorm that's been going on now for the past couple of weeks in regards to Mike Trout. And I do believe we're recording this the day that Real Sports airs, and I think they're going to feature Mike Trout, and they're going to interview him and talk to him about the fact that, well, you know what? The commissioner kind of wants him to kind of be more of an advocate for the league to take his brand to the next level. And I want to get your sense, a guy like Mike Trout, he just kind of wants to make his money and go home. He doesn't really want to be, a rah-rah. He doesn't want to advocate for the league. He doesn't want to take his brand to the next level. And I want to get your sense, does he have a responsibility to the game, especially being a superstar, to do a little bit more? Stay with us. You're listening to Tigers Talk on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Episode 152 will roll along right after this.
And Doc, Mike Trout might not advocate for Major League Baseball, and maybe Rob Manfred, the Major League Baseball Commissioner, will not advocate for Mike Trout being a face of the league, but I will advocate for one of our fine partners at the Detroit Sports Podcast Network in the Detroit Sports Commission, which has been bringing tons and thousands of marquee events to our very region, the Metro Detroit area now since 2001, specifically national and international amateur sporting events, such as the Zenith Prep Kickoff Classic, coming to you and to all football fans out there at Wayne State, August 23rd through 25th at Tom Adams Field on the campus of Wayne State University. And you can find out about all the marquee events that the Detroit Sports Commission is bringing to our very region by following the DSC on Twitter and on Instagram at DET Sports. And also make sure to check out their very fine website at DetroitSports.org. And back here on episode number 152 of Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company. And before the break, you had brought up Mike Trout and Rob Manfred, some interesting comments made by the Major League Baseball Commissioner, Rob Manfred, that is, about maybe Mike Trout not gravitating enough himself to be in the face of the league and not being the rah-rah guy or the guy, the personality that you need to be the face of the league. But then I counter that by saying, well, he's the best player in the league. Subsequently, he's the face of the league. And what does he have to do to further prove that and to you that he is the face of the league? I think it's on Major League Baseball maybe doing better with marketing him and getting his face out there to the masses. That's what Major League Baseball needs to do because Mike Trout is hitting the hell out of the baseball. He's the best player in all of baseball, and he's done good things for the community. For the LA Angels community, I mean, there's this thing that went viral, courtesy of the Angels, or just, I saw it on Twitter, and he brought a kid onto the field, like during BP. This guy's a good guy. He's got a bubbly smile, personality. He might not be outspoken or the funny dude, but he's got the bubbly personality, the positive mentality and mindset enough to me to warrant saying that he is the face of the league in more than one way, too.
Now, here's the problem, though. Unfortunately, you make your money, you make your name in terms of a brand in the postseason, and the Angels haven't consistently made deep runs. They haven't done much. Now, in the regular season, that's fine and dandy, but what's going on is across Major League Baseball, attendance is down a little bit. There's more teams openly tanking. People are talking about, the fact that a lot of the millennials just don't like watching baseball because of the fact it's a little bit boring, and there's not enough superstars, meaning If you look at the NBA, there's a plethora of guys that are like worldwide brands. You got LeBron, you got KD, you got Steph Curry, the entire Golden State Warriors organization. They're making news left and right. And so what the NBA has done is they've marketed their talent. And so what Rob Manfred is saying is, now, I disagree in that you can't really force it out of somebody, especially with a guy making that much money. But what he's saying is, Mike Trout has the ability to make $100 million a year in endorsements. He just doesn't want to do it. And what that means is, Mike Trout could endorse brands. He could put his face in a lot more places. He could do more interviews. He could be more of a representative for Major League Baseball, meaning in more commercials, talking about, situations in which he's wearing jerseys and having, more access to them. But he's doing interviews. He does it. But what they're saying is Major League Baseball needs a face. And right now, they don't have a bunch of people that are really bubbly. There's not a lot of people that are engaging, that you go, I want to talk to that guy. I want to be, seen with that guy. They don't have a lot. They have, of course, superstars. They got personalities, but they don't have enough to sustain what they're looking for, especially to offset the fact that a lot of fans right now maybe are not as in tune to the game as they should be. Now, you and I are like hardcore. We watch sports. So they're not looking for us. They're looking for the young cat. They're looking for...
But can you attract them to counter that? Is there anything that Major League Baseball can do? Now, it should try more. As a league, it should, to market its key marquee players.
But if the guy doesn't want to do interviews, how do you market him? He's not available.
And
he wants to play baseball.
That's who he wants to be. That's who he is, right? Let's not pretend he's something else.
Right, but now you look at it from this perspective, okay? All credit to LeBron James because he can safely say when he retires, he left the game better than when he arrived. And so baseball has to say, look, the Golden Goose is not going to be around forever. There's a chance that if attendance goes down and you only have maybe, look in the American League, most of the playoff teams are set. So the intrigue is pretty much gone. You look at games, they're still hovering around 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's still challenging to get people to watch. Ratings are down, especially in markets where teams are tanking. I mean, Detroit's ratings are down almost 50%. And you look at it and you go, can baseball sustain this level of success, especially with other sports coming up, if you don't continue to have stars? And so Mike Trout, I know that maybe he's not interested in doing that, but Major League Baseball has to market their talent much better. Yes, you're absolutely right, but players themselves also have to take it upon themselves to promote the game, to promote, getting more kids like Zuzu. Because look, if you just reflect on what we saw last week, how many kids do you know, like my nephew, who are into it like that?
Probably not that young, for sure.
More people,
and actually, once they grow up, they're out of it.
More people are attracted to Fortnite in a free game than they are going outside and looking at baseball games because of the fact that for some reason, either it's boring or there's not enough stars. It's not cool to be a baseball fan among little kids and millennials.
That's why we're not cool. We're not cool people, you and I, so it kind of makes sense.
Well, we're baseball. We're sport. You and I are sports fans, so like I said, we're outliers. We watch no matter what, stars or no stars. We look at other things besides personalities. But for Major League Baseball, in order to succeed, you got to build up more stars. And right now, there's not a lot of them. And especially across Major League Baseball, the lack of African-American players invested as youth playing the game is really down, and it's been talked about. I do think Major League Baseball at the grassroots level has to bear down and attract more people to the game. And it starts with superstars. You got to have more superstars, the talented individuals like J.D. Martinez, like a Scherzer, like a Verlander, like a Mike Trout. They got to be on these shows. They got to be doing more media. And they just got to do a little bit more.
But does Major League Baseball pay them to do that? It's not in their contract. So it's up to them, to their discretion, to do this interview and to not do that interview if they don't want to as well.
But Vito, look at it from your perspective. You're doing podcasting. When you go out and about, you talk about podcasts. You invite people to see what a podcast looks like. You're leaving a better trail than when you started. Obviously, when you started, podcasting wasn't as popular. You got on the airwaves. You've done it. You've now advocated for podcasts. You're doing work for podcasts. You're taking a microphone with a podcast flag on it. So, you're probably doing some of these things to further your brand and to further podcasting. You say, wow, look, Vito's out there at UDM. He's out there at the Palace. He's out there at Little Caesars. He's doing things. You're doing more than really what you have to do and what you're paid to do to leave a better trail for the network and to leave podcasting viewed as a better spot. So, sometimes when you're making $34 million, all we're saying is you got to step up and leave the game better than when you got it. And right now, Mike Trout's not doing it enough, in my opinion.
But you know what's better than talking? Is doing it, showcasing your talent. Mike Trout's a hitter, a baseball player, a pro athlete, pro baseball player.
Who doesn't bat in prime time?
I'm saying I don't need to go bring a bat and go hit the baseball 400 feet. to succeed at my craft. Podcasting is talking, so I got to talk. So really comparing the two, there is no comparison.
No, there's a comparison in that.
Because I have to go do that, though. I'm going to talk, and I should be promoting. See, I got to talk about myself in the podcast network to promote the podcast network and myself.
Yes.
Mike Trout, you know how he promotes himself? By hitting a 450-foot bomb out of Angel Stadium. So there is a difference there.
There's a difference, but he's not doing it on the biggest stage. He's not doing it in the prime time.
It's his team's fault. Look at his team.
Yeah.
How about the GM? How about you support your guy with better talent?
Right. So you think he's fine?
I think he's fine. So I obviously can tell that you think Rob Manfred is in the right here.
I agree.
His comments are valid.
It's one of those situations where Rob Manfred has to discuss the state of the game. And right now...
But why call out a guy? That's your... What if David Stern would have called out Michael Jordan, which it was never a problem with MJ because he had the Nike brand and the shoes. But what if David Stern would have called out in the 90s Michael Jordan when he was winning his 6 titles? Michael, you don't do enough advertising. You think MJ's going to listen? These guys don't have to listen.
Vito, he was featured in NBA Finals.
I'm saying, what if... Okay, so you're saying that's the difference because he made it to the elite level and won championships. That's how he showcased, because really that's showcasing your talents at the fullest level and promoting the league. When you're dominating, that's promoting the league.
Right, especially when you look at it, Jose Altuve raised his stock last year in the postseason. JV made his mark last year in the postseason. Regular season stuff, a lot of people aren't watching, Vito.
But it means something still.
Yeah. It does.
It can be highly significant. I mean, Mike Trout's having the best WAR season maybe of all time. He's on pace for it, I think, still.
Rob Manfred, I think, is right in saying, look, overall, for your brand, you got to do more. But in the end...
So when you listen to somebody, what if it was outside of the work confinement? Because, you're confined to work hours, 8-hour days, 9-hour days. What if your boss then told you, after you're done with your shift, and you're not going to get paid for it, you've got to go to Meijer and promote the company and promote what you do? Outside of the work setting. So you have to go in your free time and go to Meijer or Kroger and say, I'm John McAroo, and I have this...
If Rob Manfred came to me and said, look, your presence would elevate the game. Our numbers are down. You going out there and doing that kind of stuff. Look, you don't got to do it every week, but if you do it periodically, Mike Trout's not doing enough.
My point is, he is a community ambassador.
Sure.
Like the commercials that they make for these players, it's not like the players say, can I make a commercial? I mean, they don't really do that.
Right.
So Major League Baseball has to step up, right? That's where I'm defending Mike Trout because he does do stuff in the community. Like the LA Angels defended him, and it's widely known, this guy is good with the community. He's a good guy. The definition of it. He does no wrong. He's never in the headlines, right, for anything negative. He's never committed a crime. You don't see him committing a crime anytime soon. That's not the kind of guy he is. He's not cut from that kind of cloth. He is a clean dude on and off the field.
Okay, let's listen to a clip that occurred on the Dan Patrick Show. Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred talks about Mike Trout being unwilling to market himself.
How do you respond when somebody says the most popular or the best player in the sport, the only publicity he gets is the publicity that he's not getting publicity, and that's Mike Trout?
It's interesting. I actually read about this topic. Bill Shakin had an article this morning in the LA papers. Publicity, player marketing, and I've said this to players, so I don't mind saying it here. Player marketing is an important function, but in order to do it, what do you need? A player. Yeah. And I think if you read Bill's article, it's really thoughtful. And one of the points he makes is, Mike has made certain decisions about how he wants to play and what he wants to do with the rest of his life. And that affects the profile that you're going to have. If you want to be the most famous player, as well as being probably the best, there are certain things that you have to devote time to, and that's a lifestyle choice for players. Having said that, I do think it's really important for the sport, broadly defined, to market its players. The game is about the players. I think that the way you build your brand and you build your fame in today's world has changed. It's not enough to be the best on the field. You have to be prepared to give fans
social media
that access via social media. It's something that we're going to make a genuine effort to try to be of assistance to our players on.
Now, here's the part maybe you don't get because you're not a social media extraordinaire like myself.
Guru like you, yeah.
So what he's saying is there's other avenues to promote the game, give your thoughts, give your opinions, to get yourself out there. And all that the commissioner is saying is, look, if it's not Mike Trout, then he's probably not going to get to the level of success in terms of worldly brands than where he's currently at. And that's all I'm saying is that in the end, Mike Trout can do more. You can agree, and you can agree or disagree, but Mike Trout can do more to help the game out. Can he do a lot more? There's definitely a wider gap in terms of what the commissioner wants versus maybe what Mike Trout wants, but Mike Trout can probably do more.
Doesn't Major League Baseball have a marketing team?
But they said
you're
the guy.
Hey, let me call it Mike. But I don't think he would be saying no all the time, is my point. Right? What if you pursue it with Mike Trout and say, Mike, we want to make an advertising campaign out of you. Mm-hmm. Let's sell you, your face, to the millions of people out there that watch these commercials. Why couldn't Major League Baseball do that?
Oh, they could do that. Maybe they
right?
could.
Let's call up the player. We have his number. They can get in contact with Mike Trout probably really easily. They can get in contact with them. So get in contact with Mr. Mike Trout and set up an advertising campaign that you can shoot with them.
I think that's
him
what he
as
said.
the face of the advertising campaign. Why don't you do that then, Major League Baseball? That's not Major League Baseball and its marketing team. What's the marketing team
Vito,
doing then?
Did you listen?
Just sitting on its hands at home?
There's an article that was written that says Mike Trout doesn't want to do it. That he is.
But if you kept asking, and there are other guys, I'm saying, but remember, this is a problem with Major League Baseball as a whole, too. Past Mike Trout. How about Bryce Harper, who's got the superstar status, opinions, and status because he's outspoken? How about we maybe build an advertising campaign around him? Now, he's been sucking it up average-wise this year, but he's a guy with a big reputation, big name that might get paid $250 million in totality, maybe $500 million in his next deal over 10 years or something.
Who do you think the majority of fans know more? Kevin Love of the Cavaliers or Bryce Harper of the Nationals?
I would say that's close, actually. Now, if you gave me Mike Trout, it's sad, I would go Kevin Love. Almost definitely. Now, Bryce Harper's pretty well known, and he's better at his respective sport than Kevin Love is at basketball, especially at this point in their respective careers. Okay. That's a toss-up. But you're right. You can say that, but you can compare a lot of sports to baseball players, the top baseball players, and say that guy from the NBA who's like a middle-tier player is more popular than Miguel Cabrera. Kevin Love was probably more popular than Miguel Cabrera. Think about it. When Miguel Cabrera was a superstar slugger, were there promotions done with him as a face of advertising campaigns? Of these promotions? No. He was never the face of any promotions. Now, he's not a guy that's from here, from the US of A, that maybe speaks the best, most fluent English. But how about these other guys that were superstar sluggers at one point that were never marketed around? Let's create marketing campaigns around Bryce Harper, around Mike Trout, around those guys that are willing. So let's call up these guys and pursue it. Be persistent with these guys and say, can we do a marketing campaign with you using your face, and you'll be the star of this advertising campaign? Okay. I think it's on Major League Baseball to do a better job with that.
Okay, we can agree or disagree, but I think coming at it from a boss's perspective, you always want more. And I do think that Rob Manfred has a point, but I think you make a good point as well. Now, to finish the podcast, how disappointing is it in terms of the fact that Michael Fulmer diagnosed with an oblique injury and the talk has been shut down? It's been pretty much made known by Al Avila, general manager of the Tigers. We're just not probably going to entertain any calls for Michael Fulmer while he's injured. You're
not going to trade him right now because you're not going to get the extremely quality market value for him. You're not going to get the most bang for your buck. So you wait until the offseason when he's fully healthy, and then you trade him for some nice prospects. Right now, you're not going to get a great deal. I mean, you look at the Manny Machado deal. What he got is a fully healthy ball player killing the baseball right now. And look at what the Baltimore Orioles got in return from the Dodgers. It wasn't the greatest haul of prospects for Manny Machado, who's one of the best players in baseball right now.
Is he damaged goods because of the fact now there's a chance that he could be considered injury prone?
Well, his trade value's gone down, but has it gone down significantly? I would say no, because he's only 25. When you're only 25, your trade value hasn't, hit the bottom.
It's dipped, but not to the point of dangerous levels.
Correct. Not to the very bottom. I would say he's tradable. Don't you think he's a tradable commodity still? I mean, God, yeah, he is. When he's putting up sexy numbers every single start, which he hasn't done this season consistently, but when he's doing that and he's showcased the ability he has in the past, in recent memory too, to be able to do that consistently, start to start. So when he has that capability, guess what? Anybody that has that capability is tradable, even if they have a little bit of injury proneness.
Makes sense. So what's probably going to happen is the trade market's going to be a little bit quiet for the Tigers. Maybe Jose Iglesias, maybe Mike Fiers, Liriano might be dealt, but don't expect the world coming back. It's just going to be quiet, and whatever happens, happens. It's yet to be determined exactly what the Detroit Tigers are going to do, and we'll be here to cover it as it goes down. But an interesting injury, Funkhouser falls down walking home.
I saw you tweeted it.
I was shocked. I got the alert on my phone earlier on Tuesday.
Wait, it said it in the alert? How he got hurt?
Yeah, it said that he tripped after walking home from a game. He came across uneven sidewalk. He tripped and fractured his foot. Out for the year.
Why not lie about how you got hurt? At a certain point, why not lie? And especially you're putting that into the injury alert. I feel bad for this guy, but that's bad PR for him. I mean, how injury prone are you then? I mean, a freak accident, which I guess it's called a freak accident for a reason because it can happen to anybody. That's why it is a freak accident. But man, cover up the injury and say, disclose something else to the Tigers organization for how you got hurt. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I do not want to hear that. Maybe that's even I hope that's not your made up excuse for why you got hurt. I hope it wasn't like you were at the bar and then you came up with that lame ass excuse. I mean, that's really lame.
It's tough too because you're halting the progress, and it's really an injury that some people have even messaged us and said, "Do you believe him? Do you believe that's how he got
I don't
hurt?"
think it's highly believable. I don't think it's 100% believable. I mean, but if they're alerting everybody with that description for the injury for Kyle Funkhouser, well, you got to believe it. If it's coming to you as an alert, well, you got to believe it. But am I going to completely believe it right now? I'd be lying to you if I told you that I did.
Yeah, one of those stories that comes across and you go, wow, how disappointing for the Mets would you be? Tim Tebow can't be called up. You can't milk the cash cow there. He breaks his hand, done for the year as well. I thought that
he is?
Yeah, Tim Tebow.
They just did a story about him maybe, rising up to the majors, getting called up eventually here. The Mets are sucking it up this year. They could use some positive PR, and people love Tim Tebow. It'd be Tebow mania at Citi Field. So now it can't happen. This just happened, just broke.
I believe I heard the news on Monday.
Got ya. Well, I wasn't, I guess, keeping track of my phone enough on Monday. But anyways, I know you're the Twitter addict, too, for a reason. And that's why you handle largely the Detroit Sports Podcast Network Twitter handle. At Detroit Podcast. Give us a follow, please. We need it. It makes us sleep better at night, too.
Great podcast recording, Vito. Interesting recap that you had. You go to games to drink and you don't pay attention to the highlights.
Well, I missed one highlight. Now, that was a big highlight, so I got to take accountability. I did miss a big-time highlight, though.
But I'm glad you had an opportunity to have great seats, and you definitely are deserving. And maybe stay tuned to our Twitter feed at Detroit Podcast. Maybe we'll get a chance to get out there as early as the Cleveland series. And I was thinking, too, maybe there's a chance. I mean, look, if you can hustle a little bit, make those calls happen, if you can roll those phone calls, maybe there's a chance me and you go to Cleveland and we cover the Tigers on the road. Why not?
That'd be really cool.
A week?
How about getting into, I would say even the home dugout over there, or the home clubhouse, as in the Indians clubhouse. Now we're covering the game, any kind of game like that for the Tigers. But, hey, to get in there, maybe to talk to some Indians players, too, that'd be pretty darn cool. But we're credentialed media members. We could be at Comerica's credentialed media members. Time to celebrate here as we get off the airwaves on this very episode of Tiger Talk with Chirco and Company.
Follow Vito at Vito Jerome. Definitely contribute to Make-A-Wish if you can. Any amount that you can donate would help. Follow Vito at Vito Jerome. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Vito does 2 great podcasts every single week, every Wednesday and Saturday. Vito's a good follow, up-and-coming journalist, doing great things. And he's part of the best podcast network in Michigan, and I'm glad to work with you.
Charity game for myself is Saturday, August 4th at Wayne State University. Coming up really quick here. All proceeds benefit Make-A-Wish of Michigan for critically ill children. Adios.